right, what's going on, everybody? Joe here today with Live Adventurously podcast. But today we're going to be talking about the make it be known phase of the pin me process. So we have, when it comes to our personal safety, we have P for prepare, I for identify, N for neutralize or navigate, M for the make it be known or making it be known, and E/E for E&E, egress and escape. Today we're going to be talking about the make it be known phase. So all too often, too many times, we as human beings, especially, believe it or not, in American culture, we find ourselves questioning our thoughts and our beliefs when it comes to somebody behaving criminalistically or kind of like a creep, potentially harmful behavior, PHBs. Anytime somebody is exhibiting PHBs, and this is why we break it down into such simple finite context, are they behaving obviously in a potentially harmful way? If the answer is yes, okay, cool. Now we need to take appropriate action. Are they behaving anomalously and stacking the deck with those anomalous behaviors? Usually, once we hit about the 3 threshold, not always, but usually, when somebody's displaying 3 types of anomalous behaviors that are making us feel uncomfortable, then there's a high risk for that person to be harmful, actually harmful. And then nefarious is this person using cover, using objects or people to hide their or conceal their intentions and actions against another. So all too often we find ourselves questioning, well, am I just being crazy or is this person really doing that? That's one of the reasons why this process works so well, is because it's just deductive reasoning. You either have it or you don't have it. And when you have it and you reach a certain threshold, okay, you need to take appropriate action. So the make it be known phase could be one of the most frightening phases out of the whole process, because this is where we're now having to confront, we're being forced to confront whatever potentially harmful behavior it is that we are experiencing. So here's a couple of ways to make it be known for ourselves, like absolutely 100% no doubt whatsoever. All right, if we're still find ourselves questioning ourselves, this is a built-in fail safe for self-doubt. But this is it right here, where we confirm in our mind that this person actually is going to be harmful to us. We need to take some sort of action, and then what action we need to take in order to make it be known that, hey, we're done with this encounter, we're done with this engagement. And if you do not respect that wish or that desire for me, then we're going to take this to the next level, and I'm going to be preemptive about it. All right, so make it be known. Whenever you're dealing with somebody who's exhibiting potentially harmful behavior and you're not really too sure how to deal with them or what to say, right? Remember that if anybody's ever within 1 arm's distance of you, that reactionary gap, I like to say 2 arms distances if you can, but in environments and areas where you can keep somebody outside of that 2 arms distance gap from you and somebody's within that, then we really need to be making, a scene about that, especially if somebody comes into the 1 arm reach. This is our personal safety engagement zone, where we need to seriously push somebody off, smack them, say get back. Remember, you want a fight response, not a fear-based response like flight or freeze. So if somebody is ever encroached upon your personal safety engagement zone or 1 arm's distance away, you need to take immediate action to get them away from you and create more distance, because remember, distance equals time equals safety. Now, some people might say, well, Joe, what if, there's just, a freak chance that somebody walking on the sidewalk really truly doesn't see me and they bump into me, and then now I push them off of me and I tell them, what the hell's wrong with you? Get away from me. You know, I'm going to feel pretty bad about that. I'm going to look crazy. No, you shouldn't feel bad about that. And no, I don't think you will look crazy. I think people will look at you like that's not the person to be bumping into on the sidewalk. Now, I'm not saying that, if a little kid runs into you, you just knock them out and blast them. No, obviously we need to have some sort of, morality here within this frame. But if you are being bumped by another human being as big as you or larger than you, then yeah, absolutely push them off of you. It is 100% reasonable to believe that somebody who is coming into contact with you undesirably is potentially doing something criminally or harmful to you. And so the fact that you just push them off of you and tell them to get the hell back, that doesn't make you crazy. That doesn't mean that you overreacted at all. That actually just means that you're aware of your personal safety engagement zone and people need to get the freaking hell back. All right. So if anybody comes within that one arm's distance reach of you or they're in your personal safety engagement zone, absolutely 100% take that initiative to get them back and create more distance because you never know what that person is doing to you. They could be stabbing you and you wouldn't know it until probably a few moments after. They could be robbing you, they could be groping you. Get them back and away from you. There's no reason anybody should be running into you in the outside where there's environments where there's plenty of space for people to be running around. And plus, having that mentality and having that response ultimately is going to rewire your brain much faster as opposed to just training yourself and thinking about it. But those experiences and having that type of a response, even if it takes you a second, you're kind of like, oh, what? No. And then it registers. Then you push them off you, say, get back away from me. That starts to rewire your brain to have that subconscious response of fight as opposed to a fear based response. So, if somebody's in your personal safety engagement zone, you definitely need to be creating distance, pushing them off you, yelling at them, and getting yourself back. All right. A few other ways to confirm that we need to make this be known. So, making it be known is the vocal expression of your desires in that particular moment. And what that means is it's pretty ambiguous, right? Like your desires, well, what does that, why we're thinking here only in personal safety context. All right. So that is your desires of this conversation's over, your desires of get the hell back and away from me, your desires of stop touching me, your desires of I don't want to talk to you, your desires of I want to disengage from this situation. That is what we're making be known. Now, what we're also making be known is their criminalistic intentions, all right, or their physically harmful intentions, and we're going to talk about that here in just a moment, the 5 Ds of confirmatory action. But making it be known is the process of you vocally expressing yourself, going back to the navigation piece, how we talk about posturing our body and using our voice appropriately, be the chimpanzee, right? This is the chimp time. So anytime somebody's encroaching upon your space or doing any of these things, you need to vocally make it be known in the appropriate way. You need to use your voice. You need to project your voice, speak with a full 3/4 full lungs of oxygen whenever you're speaking and projecting yourself. Create that physical distance space, okay? This is all a part of the process of making it be known. So make it be known anytime somebody touches you in any way, you make it be known. Absolutely 100% right there. The moment that they violate the sanctity of your own personal space, you need to make it be known. Anytime somebody is encroaching on your 5s and 25. So if they've already exhibited potentially harmful behaviors, because that's what's important here, right? You're not just freaking out on everybody in your daily life, but this is a part of the PIDME process. Once people have exhibited potentially harmful behaviors, once you've attempted to neutralize, but now you're in the navigate phase, right? And they exhibit any of these, like touch you, encroach closer on your 5 to 25s, that personal safety engagement zone, then we need to be making it be known. If they say something that is unpleasant vocally, so if they're making a disgusting gesture towards you or insulting you or your family or something like that, then you need to make it be known, hey, like, what's your problem? Don't get necessarily involved in an emotional entanglement, but at this point we already are, right? There's no neutralizing and moving past it, because then we would just neutralize it and move past it. So this is when we're already in some sort of energetic exchange. Mock or do not respect your initial request to back off and leave you alone. So if somebody keeps bothering you and harassing you, make it be known. The longer that you don't make it be known, then the more you're actually empowering that person and disempowering yourself. And as we saw, unfortunately, in Philadelphia, that woman was raped on that train for over 45 minutes, 12 stops. People got on and off. And that's eventually what things can turn into if you don't stand up for yourself vocally enough up front. So something we call the 5 Ds of confirmatory action. And I know that there's some other people out there who talk about the 5 Ds, think it's basically the same thing. But these are confirmatory signs that you have no more time to consider and you need to make it be known now immediately. So one of those things is going to be distance. Are they closing in on that personal safety engagement zone with you? Notice how I keep talking about this, this personal safety engagement zone. Like this one arm's distance away is so important because it does so many things. It registers within the primal portion of your brain when somebody is outside of that personal safety engagement zone. It registers with the primal portion of your brain that, hey, I have enough time to react if this person does something to me, and it naturally cools down that sympathetic nervous system. So you're going to be much more likely to think clearly because remember, once we start going into that sympathetic nervous system fight or fear-based responses, our neocortex, the outermost portion of our brain, the critical thinking part of our brain, the problem-solving, creative part of our brain, starts to get shut off, and all the information just travels to the primitive portion of the brain because that's where information goes first. So it's going to hoard that energy, run it through the amygdala and the limbic system, and go back through this sympathetic fight or fear-based response feedback loop. So by keeping people out of your reactionary gap, all right, and I know Tony Blauer talks a little bit about this with his spear system. That reactionary time that's going to take for you to respond to somebody, it registers at the primal portion of your brain and it cools down your engines a little bit, allowing you to think more creatively and think more critically. Plus, it allows you the time to defend yourself if somebody tries to attack you. Remember, distance equals time equals safety. All right. Southern Cross safety formula. Next is distraction. Is someone trying to distract you? So do you have two people talking to you and one of them trying, hey, look over here, what's that? What's that? Because people will actually try to say things exactly like that. So is somebody trying to distract you, as you saw in the initial slide, the guy was pointing in that direction. He turned, he said, punch him in the neck when he's not looking. That's a real thing that people try to do is they try to distract you. So don't get caught up in tunnel vision due to your sympathetic nervous system rising because they're already within your reactionary gap and now your brain is on fire in terms of fear or fight based response, which at this point is clearly a fear based response because you haven't said anything back. So, if we're allowing that fear based response to gain momentum and amplitude and take over, then we're becoming more and more frozen in our environment, which means that our reactionary gap gets smaller, smaller, smaller to the point where it's non existent, right? The higher the fear response within the sympathetic nervous system of ours, then the lower or the tighter our reactionary gap gets. So, is someone trying to distract you and then you get hyper focused, you go, what? And you don't even see the attack coming anymore. Degree. Are they slicing their body away from you? You see this all the time in videos where people are like leaning in, like, what? What? They have their hand back here. Or if they're a smart and experienced fighter, they'll lean in. Well, I shouldn't say smart and experienced, but people who are smarter will lean in, slice their body off, and then just punch you in the face with the lead hand. And then they'll follow up with that haymaker punch. So the way that somebody slices their body off towards you, if when we talk about disengagement and neutralization and navigation, we say that when our hearts are facing one another, there's a stronger bond and energetic entanglement between two human beings in the interaction taking place. When we don't allow our heart to be facing their heart and they're trying to engage with us, it creates less of an energetic tether. So less offense if we keep walking. It's less engaging for both parties in terms of rising energies. However, when when we're already involved in this tether, this emotional, energetic exchange, this conversation, interaction, and they begin to slice, they're the magnetizing force that begins to slice off their body, but they're not trying to disengage, but they're slicing off their body. That is a sign that they're getting ready to attack. That's the difference when we talk about the degree or the angle in which human beings are facing one another, because some people get a little confused when they say, well, Joe, when you say to neutralize behavior, I need to keep my heart angled away from theirs. So if we're engaged and they angle their heart away from mine, that's good because I could take advantage of that opportunity in order to disengage from the conversation. But the reality is that they're the magnetic force trying to pull you in. They're slicing their body off and they're not attempting to disengage. So what this actually means is that they're waiting for you to try to disengage possibly, or to lower your levels of awareness, and then they'll begin to engage and attack you. So degree, if they're the magnetizing force pulling you in or not letting you disengage, and then they degree their body away from yours, then that's something to be aware of. Domination. Are they physically or verbally or emotionally attempting to dominate you? Are they trying to tower over you? Remember, personal safety engagement zone, 1 arm's distance away, the reactionary gap. You're not allowing them to do that as strong or as strongly uh, when you keep them an arm's distance away at a minimum. Disable or disarm by intimidation or incapacitation. So again, are they physically assaulting you, trying to knock you out and make you unconscious, or are they trying to intimidate you through vocal expression, telling you get down on the ground or give me your stuff right now before I beat the crap out of you? So keep this in mind. If people are closing in after exhibiting PHBs, if they're closing in the distance on you, if they're trying to have somebody distract you multiple times and it appears like you just feel like you're being about to be attacked, if they're slicing their body angle away from you as if they're the magnetizing force and they're slicing their body away like they're about to sucker punch you, if they're attempting to dominate you either verbally, physically, or emotionally, and if they're trying to disable or disarm you either by intimidation or incapacitation, these are signs I would pepper spray the hell out of this person. Seriously. If you're not somebody who, and most people aren't in America, somebody who could physically hold up against an attack of another human being on you, then I would absolutely recommend these are the times that you would utilize your personal safety tool. Now we're going to talk about, personal safety tool use here in just a moment when we're talking about escaping versus egressing, because there is a difference between the two. One is the successful use of neutralization or navigation techniques. The other is the application of a personal safety tool, like a pepper spray or a firearm. These are the times that you're going to be using it. There's no more time for you to wait around in your mind. It's this, these are the behaviors that are exhibited by people who are going to harm you. And you need to be preemptive so you could give yourself the best advantage possible and live a life of happiness and joy as opposed to fear and being a victim of some sort of violent crime. Now, a couple of scenarios here of just again to reassure when you should be using your personal safety tools. Now, keep in mind, not all personal safety tools are pepper spray. Some of them are guns, firearms. Yes, you may have to use lethal force at some point in your life to defend yourself. That's up to you, what kind of training you want to receive, what type of carry you want to be conducting, if you do want to carry. All that information is going to be up to you. But I will tell you this, if you are somebody who lacks in confidence, we develop confidence through skill development, knowledge development, and experience. And if you want to have a good, fun time, link up with a former special forces guy and go through a basic firearm safety course, get licensed. It doesn't mean you need to submit the license. It doesn't mean you need to carry with you if you do have a license. It doesn't mean you even need to go out and buy a gun, but you might as well just get some sort of certification and licensed in a thing and get some really great skill development out of it at the same time. One of the most profound experiences of my professional career thus far after leaving the military was a young woman who was victimized in a way, and she couldn't open her blinds for months in her apartment. She was a young college student. And when her and I were talking a little bit on ways that she can improve and increase her confidence, one of them I said was firearms. And quite honestly, every student that I have ever had who had any sort of fear with firearms, and there's been a lot, probably more than not, within the private concealed carry teaching sector of my life, they walk out of there elated. I've never once had a student leave fearful unless they failed, but then I linked up with them in the weeks following indefinitely until they passed, which all of my students who've ever failed the shooting qualification passed the exact next one. And they left there with a brand new feeling of confidence, and they talked about it for the weeks following. And that resonates. But it's important you also keep doing that as well, keep developing those skills or keep learning new skills So then you can keep that level of confidence and elation going. But I digress to here are some times where, regardless of whatever personal safety tool it is, that if any of these are occurring, again, it's confirmatory signs. You've made it be known that this is their intent to harm you, and you've made it be known that, hey, like, I'm done with this, and this is what I'm doing to defend myself. If you reasonably believe you are in danger of being killed, harmed, robbed, raped, or kidnapped, or anything else that is going to cause your body great bodily injury, grievous bodily injury, permanent disability, also emotional and well-being as well. Rape and sexual assault, criminal sexual assault, those are considered, and I put reasonably believe in here because every state's going to be different. But ultimately, they all have a pretty similar theme of, if you reasonably believe that you are in danger of disfigurement, great bodily harm, death, then you have the right to use justified, moral, legal, deadly defense, deadly self-defense. It's not the same in every state. Every state's different. But for the most part, from what I understand from all the different legislative pieces I've read, which there's been a few, not all of them, but quite a few, then, as long as there's reasonable belief that you are in danger of being killed, harmed, robbed, raped, kidnapped, then you can use justified lethal self-defense. And you should certainly be using justified defensive personal safety tools to begin with, like pepper spray. Absolutely 100%. Remember, going back to this, are they displaying any of the 5Ds? If so, pepper spray the hell out of them. Are any of these occurring? Then you absolutely have the right to defend yourself to the greatest means necessary. So if you reasonably believe you're in danger of being killed, harmed, robbed, raped, kidnapped, or a lot of other grievous bodily injury, death related crimes. If they're trying to get into your car, you don't have to confirm they have a weapon if they're trying to get into your car. If you're a concealed carry holder and somebody's trying to break into your vehicle while you're sitting in it, I recommend, one, if you can, just drive off and run them over. Two is that you just drive straight off. Three is that you fiend, okay, cool, let me put it in park and getting out of here while you're really drawing your gun. And then you actually engage that person with justified lethal deadly force. If somebody's trying to break into your car, you don't need to confirm they have a gun in their hands. It's reasonable to believe that they do. If somebody's trying to get into your home, or you're over at a friend's house, let's say, and somebody's trying to break into a friend's house, like some creep or some drunk dude or, some criminal, justified lethal self-defense at that point. If they're trying to get into the home and attack upon the dwelling, home invasion, if somebody's in the home, you don't need to confirm they have a weapon in their hand. And let me take a step back. When I'm talking about weapon in their hand and justified lethal self-defense, I'm actually talking about the state of Illinois. So keep that in mind. Again, all states are different, but I'm talking about the state of Illinois. It's just a reflex of mine because that's where I teach. So if someone's trying to get in your car, if someone's trying to get into your home or a friend's house where they're already in there, defend the hell out of yourself. All right. That is a life or death situation. It's not up to you to justify or to be like, hey, what is this person really doing in here? No, that is a deadly threat to your well-being, your life, and the greatness that you have to give to the world. Do not allow somebody to take away a piece of you so that you're less of a loving mother, wife, daughter. Don't let somebody hurt you and take away from your family and the people that you love. That also goes for husbands, sons, fathers, because everybody loses a piece of themselves when they get victimized. But everybody grows when they are a victor. And I've got a lot of stories about that. I heard a really amazing one this last week. This woman literally is I gotta bring her on for an interview because her entire process was this course. So it just goes to show you that everything we talk about in the pin me process is applicable. All right. If they yell, shout, scream, or attempt to intimidate you, this is somebody trying to tower over you, closing in again on that, the 5Ds, right? They're attempting to dominate you and close in on that distance, pepper spray the hell out of them. And, or if your state allows for tasers, I like the ones that shoot. Remember, distance equals time equals safety. So just use whatever personal safety tool that you're legally allowed to use in your state at that time. 5, they display one of the 5Ds and encroach on your reactionary gap. Notice how I keep talking about distance here. I keep talking about the 5Ds. One of the 5Ds, once they're exhibiting potentially harmful behavior and they're displaying one of the 5Ds, defend yourself. All right. There is no more time to be questioning it. So you see here, we have these circles, these rings of safety, right? Public, more than 12 feet away. Social, 4 to 12 feet away. Personal, 2 to 4 feet away. Intimate is that personal safety engagement zone, that reactionary gap. If somebody's within 2 feet of you, you are going to be at risk of being attacked. And your brain knows this. The primitive part of your brain knows this. So you don't even have to consciously be thinking about it, because the primitive part of your brain is going to be on fire with that sympathetic nervous system. And the longer that you stand there, the more of a fear-based response, it is going to be building. It already is a fear-based response if you don't say anything. The moment that you say, I feel like I should say something, but you don't say something, you are now in a fear-based response. Keep in mind, there are some cultural differences. People in the Middle East or in Africa are going to, talk a lot closer to your face, maybe even in a lot of European nations as well, or I don't know about Latin America, but I think they keep a pretty decent distance. But people will generally be a little bit closer based off of their cultural background. So don't be ignorant to that. And it's kind of a reason why it's good to know these things and go out and experience the world and life, is because you develop an appreciation and an affinity for all these other cultures. In some cultures, it's like masculine. It's a sign of like true love and genuine friendship when two men are holding hands. Never really made me very comfortable because of my cultural upbringing and background. And holding another man's hand just feels weird to me. But it was good to know that. And it was pretty endearing to say, like, hey, this person considers me a good enough friend where they're holding my hand out in public, so they probably won't shoot me in the back. But story for another time. So just make sure that we're speaking up for ourselves, making it be known as the verbal process of declaration of our desire. And in this case, we're talking about personal safety. And so therefore, if somebody's too close to you and you want them to back off, tell them, hey, back off a little bit from me. Or if somebody enters that personal safety engagement zone, push them off and say, hey, get back. What the hell's your problem? Make it be known, yell it out, draw attention to yourself. The more eyes that are on you, then the more it's going to register with that person's subconscious. And then therefore that primitive part of their brain saying, hey, a lot of people are looking at me right now. If I do something, there's a greater chance that the quality of my life is going to be degraded, because maybe somebody else here is going to step in and knock me out. Somebody might call the police. These people might hold me down. Somebody might have a gun and shoot me if it's, warranted. So it's not guaranteed by any means, but the longer you refuse to say anything, then the more you are paralyzing yourself in a fear-based response. The less likely you're going to be able to recruit help from other people surrounding you. So make it be known. Immediately draw attention to yourself. And if they're displaying one of the 5Ds, or if you ever believe that you're in risk or harm of being killed, grievously injured, or assaulted, sexually groped, then immediately defend yourself. Use your pepper spray. Use your personal safety tools, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. All right, everybody. That is the make it be known section of the Pin Me process. Leave some comments, ask some questions, help me refine this course a little bit, because ultimately my goal is to give it out to all of you and to work with all of you, work with the American people. And I see things from my perspective. You see things from your perspective. Everybody has a different story to tell. So the more information and the more feedback that I can get, the more questions that I can get, the greater and the more broad the expansion of the services that I can provide to you all will be. So ask your questions, leave them in the comment box so I can answer them and refine them in a true, honest, and applicable way. This isn't some BS, safety, self-defense, twist his arm, punch him in the face, fake course. All this stuff is applicable in real life. I've used it myself. I wasn't raised doing this stuff. I was taught it by some of the greatest experts on the face of the planet, by the greatest experts on the face of the planet. I'm very fortunate enough to have been taught by them. So, all right, everyone, let me know how I can make this better. Thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and always be kind. Have a great day.